Welcome back to the Relaxing Ghost channel here on YouTube. Today we have the Money in the Bank pay-per-view collection. Money in the Bank has been a top pay-per-view of the WWE since 2010. Of course, everyone knows the idea came around WrestleMania 21. So this concept has been around for 15 years now, a pay-per-view for 11 years now, a solid pay-per-view overall. Now I will say the winners haven't exactly been utilized properly the last 5 or so years. But let's get into this with Money in the Bank 2010. I gotta say, when this idea first popped off, nobody really knew what to expect. It was pretty interesting to see back in 2005. Interesting spines here. Get a closer look, actually. Of course, we do have, several spoiler spines here. For the most part, the Money in the Bank logo has remained the same. The bottom there as well. Some more spoiler spinage. So I'm not going to run through every single match on all of these pay-per-views. Just going to kind of cover the basics and my thoughts on the individual shows. So before we start this thing off, if you have any suggestions, video ideas, comment down below and give me your thoughts on some of your favorite Money in the Bank memories. So 2010, the pay-per-view was launched in July of that year. We would see 2 ladder matches at this pay-per-view. So this would be the 3rd Money in the Bank ladder match of 2010. Of course, Jack Swagger would win it at that year's WrestleMania. And, of course, we would see a Raw and a SmackDown contracts, which they would later change to, the World Heavyweight or WWE title ladder match. To me, I wasn't really a fan of this. It gave more guys opportunities, though, which I did like. So, 2010, we would see The Miz and Kane both winning their Money in the Bank ladder matches. And Kane would be the first man to cash in on the same night. So, pretty cool disc art there. I never liked this little light at the top here, whatever this is supposed to be. No inserts with a lot of these Money in the Bank pay-per-views. I think all of them are insertless. But at this pay-per-view, the main event was John Cena versus Sheamus for the WWE title in the steel cage. We also seen Jack Swagger versus Rey Mysterio. Of course, Rey Mysterio would win the title here, capturing his 2nd world title, but only losing it minutes later to the big red machine Kane. And Kane would have a subpar run as Money in the Bank champion or world champion. 2011, July 17th, 2011, probably the most recognized or memorable Money in the Bank pay-per-view of all time. One of the greatest pay-per-views WWE's done of all time. Ranks up there with some of the best pay-per-views they've ever did. Of course, this is the CM Punk era. CM Punk and John Cena had a fantastic match for the WWE Championship. They worked in CM Punk's contract into the storyline that CM Punk was leaving with the WWE Championship. Of course, that did not come to really play out, as they didn't really use that to their advantage. Kind of lackluster storyline where Punk returned a couple of weeks later and they had the unification match at SummerSlam in 2011. Two very good Money in the Bank ladder matches here. Of course, Daniel Bryan would win, and Alberto Del Rio would also win the Raw Money in the Bank ladder match. And Del Rio would, I think, become the first man to win the Rumble and the Money in the Bank in the same year. Also, Christian and Orton, fantastic matches. You know, carrying SmackDown was a tough thing to do in this era. So, decent discard. 2012, one of my least favorite covers ever. I'm just not a fan of spoiler covers. I get that 2011 was also a spoiler cover, but 2012 here, it just looks so hokey and not good at all. You know, some people, it might be intriguing on a shelf or in stores, but for collection purposes, I'm just not a fan of this. So John Cena would win your Raw Money in the Bank ladder match. Really nice discard. I always like that. We had CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, Sheamus and Alberto, and yeah, this is the year they kind of switched it up to the world title Money in the Bank contract ladder match, and it's just a mouthful to say. WWE Championship contract Money in the Bank ladder match. So what was wrong with the Raw Money in the Bank ladder match? I have no idea. It's not for Raw, it's for the world title. It's a contract. I mean, some things in this company just bother me so much. So pretty big matches here. With Cena, Kane, Jericho, Big Show, and The Miz. This was like an all-star kind of ladder match here, in which Cena would win. Ziggler would also win the ladder match here for the SmackDown side of things. And Ziggler would hold on to that thing till the night after WrestleMania 29. So, decent event. Not too much happened on that show. 2013. Again, kind of the same thing here. Really cool cover. You know, I always like covers like these with the action shots. You know, spoiler reserved. But we do have the spoiler spine, which I'm not a fan of. You know, you got both winners on the spine with Orton and Damian Sandow. And again, really nice disc art. 2012, I don't know if I showed that yet. But 2013, they kind of did the same concept there with the kind of all-star ladder match here for the WWE title. You know, all former world champions there with Orton, CM Punk, Sheamus, Daniel Bryan, RVD was back in the mix. But yeah, Orton would win, and he would cash in the month later at SummerSlam. Kind of what they did a couple years prior with Del Rio. And it kind of felt like they just rinsed and repeated what they'd done prior. I was kind of really disappointed with what they did with Ziggler. It's unfortunate that he had concussion issues and whatnot. But overall, a decent show. I think that one kind of gets forgotten. 2014. Probably an underrated event here. So this is the whole Daniel Bryan controversy with his injuries just piling up after WrestleMania 30. Again, spoiler cover, but I do like this one a lot better than 2012. So here we go. We got our two top prospects here with Rollins and Reigns. John Cena would capture the WWE Championship in another kind of similar all-star ladder match. I was a big fan of how they did that with... Again, I think they put all former WWE champions in there. They also added Bray Wyatt. And this is the era where there's no real match listings on the back. I just hate this. But Seth Rollins would win the Money in the Bank ladder match. He would hold it until WrestleMania 31. So, him and Ziggler, I think, held it the 2 longest times. Also, Edge is up there with the longest runs with the briefcase, hanging onto it. So, beautiful shot of the titles there. Of course, Daniel Bryan would vacate the championship, and they would have this ladder match here to determine who would be the champion. Although Cena's reign would not be long, as he would travel to Suplex City at SummerSlam. 2015, I believe another underrated event. Decent cover here with Dean Ambrose. Seth Rollins was now the WWE champion. Ambrose was his top rival at this point in time. I mean, they were having so many matches. It's like that's what WWE does. They have something good and they just run it into the ground. Although Rollins and Ambrose, I think most of their matches were really good. Even going back to their FCW days. Decent artwork on the disc, similar to the cover, which is, actually much better than what the cover is. Looks like some ruins back there and different shots. So this would be the year of Sheamus. The Celtic Warrior returned with a new look after being out for, several months. And he would join Del Rio and a few others in holding both Money in the Bank and winning a Rumble. Not too many guys have said they've done that, let alone, one of them. Sheamus would hold on to the briefcase for a few months, cashing in at Survivor Series this same year. Pretty good show. And a pretty good ladder match. Again, we had Reigns, Orton, Ziggler, Sheamus, Kane, Neville, and Kofi Kingston. We also seen Ryback versus The Big Show, John Cena versus Kevin Owens in one of their forgotten matches. People always talk about their chamber match and kind of forget about this one. We also had the New Day versus the Primetime Players, and Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose in a ladder match. Very good ladder match. It's not your spot fest ladder match. It's a good storytelling type of ladder match. 2016, we would see The Shield all holding the WWE title on the same night. This might be my favorite of all the Money in the Bank pay-per-views. I know 2011 is up there and a couple of others. Really nice cover. This is very well done. Of course, Roman Reigns had won the title at WrestleMania 32. Rollins returned from injury a couple months prior to this, challenges Reigns. People probably forget that Rollins is actually a 2-time WWE champion. And he would lose it several minutes later to Dean Ambrose, who again would win the Money in the Bank ladder match, cash in the same night on Seth Rollins. This is one of the greatest moments, I believe, in WWE history. This also came with a Superstar Seth Rollins card, still in the plastic. Really nice disc art. So yeah, we got really cool shots on here. Money in the Bank also featured John Cena versus AJ Styles. Seemed like Money in the Bank was the time of the year for John Cena to put on these awesome matches with these up-and-coming stars. We've seen it with Punk. We've seen it with Owens. And here with AJ Styles. Now, AJ Styles is in a league of his own, but his matches with John Cena are some of my favorites to go back and watch. So here's a brief shot of what kind of happened. Got Cesaro, Ambrose, Jericho, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. and Del Rio there. Pretty good pay-per-view. You know, definitely one you guys should check out. Money in the Bank in 2017 was a part of the double feature DVD set here, along with Extreme Rules. This was also a decent event, but this is now featuring the first women's Money in the Bank ladder match, which would be won by Carmella, and Baron Corbin would win the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. This is probably the weakest Money in the Bank pay-per-view and the weaker Money in the Bank winners. Carmella would have controversy with her win, and Corbin would also fail to cash in. This featured Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton in the championship match. This is about the time where I feel like the winners of Money in the Bank kind of got squandered and lost in the shuffle. And they kind of just... I feel like 2018... Again, another decent pay-per-view here. But honestly, I felt like by this point in time, WWE had an awesome roster, but it just felt like the kind of overall storylines and creative direction was in the toilet. We would see Strowman win the men's and Bliss winning the women's. Again, Alexa Bliss cashing in on the same night. Carmella just cashed in after WrestleMania 34. That shows you how long she held the briefcase. She really didn't do much with it. Seen some good matches between Styles and Nakamura. Strowman and Kevin Owens there. Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax. Decent event. But again, I felt like this year's Money in the Bank winners really didn't hold much. Since Bliss cashed in the same night and Strowman failed to cash in. 2019, another fantastic cover. Becky 2 belts was a thing for a month or so. And this year, Money in the Bank was the pay-per-view right after WrestleMania. Not a fan of it. Not a fan at all. Again, we've seen our 2 Money in the Bank winners, Bayley and Brock Lesnar. Yeah, Brock Lesnar. Again, that pissed off a lot of fans. 2018, Brock Lesnar interrupts Hell in a Cell, which was Strowman's cash-in, and the match gets thrown out. Here in 2019, Lesnar kind of comes in last minute, wins the match and the briefcase. And he would cash in, the next month at Extreme Rules. Bayley, however, cashed in the same night and has been the top women's champion for the past year or so. Again, decent discard, but in this era, WWE kind of gave up on DVDs, and we really didn't see much improvement. DVDs have really took a downturn the past couple of years. We've seen decent matches between AJ Styles and Seth Rollins. Becky Lynch would lose the SmackDown Women's title to Charlotte and then retain the other. Kofi Kingston versus Kevin Owens, decent match. And then finally, the 2020 Money in the Bank DVD set. During the COVID-19 pandemic, WWE had been doing cinematic type matches and filming at their Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, or wherever it is. This was mostly filmed at WWE headquarters, and the undercard featured matches from the Performance Center. You know, when you look at some of these other pay-per-views, this one, it fails to compare. I enjoyed the main event. Love the artwork on it. But this one is going to be a tough show to go back and watch in years to follow. Asuka is the star of, the WWE right now, and Otis. So Asuka would just receive the women's championship the night after this pay-per-view. Not even had to win a match or nothing, because Becky Lynch would kind of vacate the championship due to a pregnancy. So the past 3 women's winners have won the championship within 24 hours of the pay-per-view, or winning the contract. The men's side of things had been kind of turned upside down the past few years. I really don't see Otis winning the WWE title right now, or the Universal Championship. I'll be honest with you, I don't really see it happening. Drew McIntyre here had a great match with Seth Rollins. But apart from that, I wasn't a fan of Bray Wyatt and Braun. You can look at the past 5 years here and say they really kind of wasted Money in the Bank. So there we have the Money in the Bank pay-per-view DVD collection. Let me know your thoughts, guys, and if you have these in your collection, let me know some of your favorites and your overall thoughts on some of the winners of Money in the Bank. As always, we'll talk to you later. Peace!